as real as it gets.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
You're listening to UCW Radio.
In your face.
Give it to me, baby.
All right, welcome to the UCW radio show. As you know, we have a lot of motivational, inspirational, just great people that come on the show, and I'm happy that I'm able to gather these people on here, and today's no different, from martial arts to fitness to, a lot. I'm not going to even get into this right now, but I have to bring Linda on here because she's our special guest for today, as you see on the bottom of your screen, and I want her to tell her story in her words. So, Linda, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm great. It's great to be on with you. I've talked to you for a while, and we just never connected.
Yeah, we're never able to do this, but now I'm glad we're able to do this and do it in video and have you on the show and the podcast. For those listening, they'll hear your voice. So, so finally we did this, and you have a vivid story, to say the least. Okay, because you've been involved in martial arts and fitness and a lot of different arenas. So tell me a little bit more about that so that our audience can learn more about you.
I'm so sorry, Louis. It broke up on me, so I didn't hear the question.
Okay, the question is that you've had a storied career. And that spans martial arts, fitness, and other areas. Okay, and I want you to tell the audience in your words, how your story began, because a good story always has a very rough beginning, and yours is no different.
I just always I grew up on a small farm in Sweden in the middle of nowhere, and just always had this desire to be something, and I always loved martial arts. Just happened to be that I came over here as an au pair in 1990 and got to know Los Angeles, California, fell in love with it, had to go back, finish school, then got an invitation from a friend to come visit, and decided, I miss everything. I want to just come for a couple of weeks. Came over here and lived around the corner from Billy Blank's World Training Center. At the time, was a very tiny little place. And I had just kind of asked around to see, is there somewhere I can go work out? And didn't know about him or anything, just wanted to work out. That was the closest place. And so that's kind of where the story began. And we had this tiny little martial arts place way before he became famous. And I just remember having to put in the flooring and clean up the place and paint it, all the students.
So he's a slave driver, isn't he? I know. When he comes on the show, we're going to talk about this, because he's going to be coming on the show, so we're going to talk about this.
You should call him out on it.
I will. Don't worry, we'll get him.
No, we loved it. It was family, and
Sure.
That was my family for the next 20 years.
But the thing is, Linda, is that you're telling the broad strokes, but your story is deeper than that. And this is what I want people to know, because before you came to the U.S., before you were an au pair, before you got involved with Billy Blanks and everything else, you were in Sweden, okay? You weren't involved in fitness and all that stuff, so something drew you to it. And this is the story I want to pull out of you, because this is what people are going to get inspired about.
I think back then I just never thought that something like that would happen. You be that little person out there, and you don't have the means to actually do anything. You don't have the money. You're still in school. You live in a place where really not much is going on. And I just happened to get this opportunity, and it's kind of like in a spiritual way, I guess. God opens doors for everyone when that's put in you. And I think that's what happened. I always had the desire. It was just the means to get there. And I just happened to come across these people that hooked me up with this whole au pair adventure. You know, it was like the greatest opportunity to just
It's
from there.
scary too. Scary because
It
you're like,
was scary.
I mean, I mean, how old were you at the time? How old?
I was 18, had
Eight.
just finished college, 19, yeah.
You just finished, and here, and I need to touch on this too because you're highly educated and people don't know this, and they should.
Yes, you know, I studied economics. I have a degree in economics, in fashion design,
Look at
and I
that.
always thought that, you know, that's what I'm gonna do. But at the same time, I was always in fitness. I mean, I remember my mom driving me from ice hockey to soccer practice to martial arts training. I mean, all of them in the same day, you know, and I just loved it. So but yeah, I came here actually thinking, okay, well, I'm gonna try to get into the fashion thing also. And unfortunately, you know, I had to put something on the back burner there because this just took over, and that was always my passion, this fitness,
So
and especially martial arts. And I would have never in a million years dreamed that I would, you know, enter into that whole thing and meeting Billy and get that huge opportunity, you know? It was just
he should have brought you in the Geico commercials. What's up with that? Yeah, he should have did that. I'm watching. I see. I'm like, where's Linda? Where is she? No,
you know,
he should have
I
did it.
did a lot of Tybo videos. I
I
don't know
know.
if I wanted to be the Geico commercial.
He was punching away. He was punching away. But yeah, you in the Tybo videos and everything, and people they should know this because when you started in martial arts training, you know, with Billy, you know, you embraced it and you wanted more of it. Okay, and I really want people to know that right now you hold a third degree in Taekwondo.
I'm a third-degree black belt, yes, and I have 4 national championships, um, which I still don't know how that even happened. uh, it was just it's not it was kind of like the passion led to that, not, oh, I want to be a black belt,
Hmm.
you know, like some people
You
go
just
in,
love it. It's a part of your life.
right, it can't be the other way. But you have a lot of people, you know, that enter into martial arts just because they want that black belt,
Sure.
because it's like, you know,
It's
prestigious thing to walk around with, and they don't realize we used to have a lot of them come to the studio, you know, oh, I want to be a black belt, and then they realize, oh, I have to work for it, you know.
Everybody wants the
And
black belt.
end
That's
of
why
it.
they'll go to this. They'll go to the karate whatever.com and buy a black belt. You know, you got to earn it because black belts at the end of the day they turn very gray. Okay, when you're using them. So
Right,
you know,
yes,
but
so you when you do something like that, and I know, you know, it's all comes from just passion within, you know.
sure. Sure, sure, and the thing is, you love it. So it's. I mean, again, you made a good point that people they get involved in martial arts. You know, they want the ranking, they want the prestige, they want to stroke their ego. But the
Right,
reality is, as we know, this is a lifestyle, and this is
yeah,
part of you. You know, so
right.
it's something you take that you took, and it's something you also give back. And when you're training people, because you do train people now, that martial arts background, you know, transcends to them.
Of course, it's always a mental thing. It always starts with that. You know, if your mental ability is stronger than your physical, you can do any physical
Yeah,
activity you want.
yeah.
So I guess that translates into not just that. And I realized that later in life, you know, as I was in the ring all the time. And it's great to beat up on people, but you realize that later in life, it also carries you over to all those other things, you know, like it helps you with everything,
Sure.
that mentality. So I think now that I'm older, I'm very thankful
Hmm.
for those skills.
But these are the experiences that you've had during your life where it could have been you could have taken the easy road and you came here as an au pair. You could have did that and pursued your fashion and maybe go back home if it didn't work out. Go into finance. You have a degree in economics. You could have did that. I mean, there's a lot of things you could have done, but you followed your passion.
Right. I remember coming here. I basically just told my mom, you know, I'm going back to LA. And I had no money. I mean, really no money. It was kind of scary. I remember when
It's like half
I
of
got my
LA, but that's okay.
I got my first job and I was making $300 a week, and everything was calculated exactly on the penny. And I remember not being able to buy water even.
Oh,
And so I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I really love this training. And, I just really enjoyed it. And I said, one day I'm going to make it, and I've created my whole business around that. And it's not just based on work. It really is who I am day out and day in. And I love, transferring all that energy over to my clients.
and they absorb it, and this is
Yeah,
this is the story that people need to know, that you didn't just wake up one day and Billy Blanks was there, poof, and he said,
no,
"Oh, you're gonna do typo videos with me. You're gonna train with me. I'll give you a belt." It didn't happen that way. These are just a series of events that fell into place because they were meant to be.
exactly. In fact, when I met Billy, it was before he was famous.
Hmm.
And I mean, the little place
That's
that
when
we
he was
had,
William. He was William. Okay.
right? It was small. It was a small place, but and then later on, we started filming all the Tybo videos, and that's when the place just blew up, and we had every celebrity under the sun over there. But that was later, so I never went there thinking, okay, I want to train here because of that. I was already part of that family before the fame came.
But isn't that
Um,
awesome though, to be a part of something when it's in its infancy, then all of a sudden it grows up and you get to see it grow up? I think that's pretty cool.
it's amazing until this day. They're my family as I see them. Because I came here at such a young age, and so that's all I know. I lived there basically at that studio, training for competitions
Hmm.
for my next belts or whatnot. I used to live at that studio for hours. I mean, I would go there at least twice a day, and it was at least 3 to 4 hours of practice. So yes, it becomes part of who you are.
You're one step
Um,
away from a pillow and a blanket in the back, I'm sure.
that's it. That's all
Yeah.
I needed. And I'm
Yeah.
still like that. I could live in the gym.
Yeah. Well, that's well good. You built your own. Well, with the pandemic, it changed how we live, and for you too, because I've witnessed it. You built your gym in your home, piece by piece, this and that. And you put it all together. You got change. You got this. You got that. You've done what other people have done, but you've taken it to another level, because now you're able to actually train your clients there if you want to.
Yes, I've been wanting to do this for a while. So I have to say, a lot of people complain about the pandemic. For me, it was a blessing. It's something that I wanted to do,
Hmm.
and just how you just get kind of comfortable where you're at, because
Yeah.
it requires so much energy to get this whole thing together. And when the pandemic hit, I kind of go, oh, I need to work out. I can't have this with the gyms being closed because
Yeah.
I have.
You start going cuckoo. Yeah.
So we started out with a few pieces here and there, and then we turned the garage into a gym, full-on gym with commercial equipment. So it now I kind of live my dream life like that. I have the gym right inside the house, and I have my clients coming here, and they love it too. It's a private little studio for them,
And
and
that's good for your clients, because the one thing that I realize with some people, when they go into a gym and you haven't really trained a lot, or you feel out of shape, you feel uncomfortable, you feel uneasy, you're afraid to do things, you feel like you're going to be embarrassed, and I've seen that, because there were times that I was training at 3 o'clock in the morning, and someone really, really, heavy would come in, and they would still be a little embarrassed, and I would have to make them feel comfortable, say, "You can do this. You got up. You're here. Get it done." So when you bring your clients over there, it has to feel better for them, I would imagine.
I think, I mean, they're all so happy, and because it changed for them too.
Sure.
Not having to go to a big gym, just like you said, a lot of people, you go into a big gym, it's very intimidating if
Yeah.
you don't know what you're doing. I mean, and then you end up maybe not doing exactly what you wanted, or
You won't
yeah.
try new
So
things. You won't try. You won't experiment because you
you
think
don't
somebody's
want
going to
to,
judge you. Yep.
right? So coming here, they're comfortable, and it's really a blessing for me to be able to work like this. And I can bring in one at a time and focus on them and their nutrition needs and their training without any interruptions or distractions from anybody else in the gym. They don't have to worry anybody's watching them, you know. Just and plus it's a clean environment for them now.
Sure, sure. And one thing I want all people to understand too, those that are listening and watching, that you're not the type that you're sitting there and you're telling people what to do and you're on your phone, you're like da, 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 while you're talking to other people. You actually engage or are one with them and really holding their hand and pushing them through it. Because I've seen
Yes,
a lot. I mean, you know how those trainers, the people I'm talking about. They're there for the paycheck, but they're not there to actually help people the way they should.
I think that's very common. I've been in the industry about 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people, especially in LA, training is like a quick thing to make money while they're doing, it's like a step just to make some extra money while they're trying to do what else, acting or whatever else they want to do. So it's just, I see a lot of trainers coming in just to, a few hours here and there, but their main focus is really school, or they want to be an actor.
No.
And so because of that, if the something happens and they get an audition or something comes up or a gig somewhere, they just drop their clients.
Right. It's just for them to put money. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that if they're helping someone. But your clientele, these are the clientele that really want to embrace what you're doing because they want to learn too. Because what happens when they learn? They get to teach their kids and help their friends, and it's a pay-it-forward situation.
It's amazing to just see people do a 180, from very unhealthy lifestyle to just turn things around. And I have a lady that just lost 30 pounds almost. I mean,
good for her.
And they're so happy. Yeah, it's amazing, really, for us to, and it's my lifestyle. So I'm wholeheartedly in the whole thing, with them. And I think you sense that when you train with someone,
Sure. I want to go back to when you were competing. Okay, when you were training with Billy Blanks, when did you have your first competition? Because this was before Tybo and everything else. This was before all that. So when you had the first competition, tell me, what got you to compete and how was that feel? I always ask people this. How is the feeling first getting on the mat at that moment, that first competition?
No matter how prepared you are at something, when you're put in that situation, it's not easy. But because I think a lot of fighters are like that though. You just, once you get in the ring, your mind just switches over to something else, and so that definitely helped me. But was it terrifying, once you get into that ring before the fight starts? Yes, I think we all have those butterflies, like, oh my God, what am I doing, But then that once, you start and everything, the fight is on, then that's it. And I always loved that, it's like the adrenaline rush of it.
Yeah, well, like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan when they get in until they get punched in the face, and then the game changes.
Right. So it has to come from within you. You can't. It just is part of who you are that just comes out. If you are fighting on that level, you just have to have that inside, because if you don't, it doesn't matter how good your skills are. It's just. But yeah, it was a great experience, I have to say. I don't have a desire to go back fighting now, but at the time, I really enjoyed it. I think we're all a little crazy.
But you won 4 titles.
4 nationals, yeah, 4 nationals.
I mean, not a lot of people can say that.
No, it definitely determination and hard work. You just cannot quit no matter what, because the reality is most days are not great. When you go to train, most days you go into a gym, you don't go, oh my God, I feel amazing, I'm gonna do 5,000 squats today.
Most times it's like, I don't want to be here right now, but I'm here.
How many times do you go in the gym and you're like, oh man, I didn't sleep enough. I'm kind of a little sore, something doesn't feel quite right. And so I think what separates the people that continue is you're able to kind of get past that.
Hmm.
And a lot of times, honestly, like I love it and I would never not work out that day. But sometimes it's kind of a little slower to get started.
Sure.
You kind of have to ease your way into it. And then once you get in there, you're like, oh, I'm so happy I'm here. Now it's ready. I'm ready to go now.
Well, that's
So
the
I think
thing. You can be sore and everything else, and and it's happened to me too. I'm gonna admit it. You go and you get to the gym, everything else. You're like, I don't know. I don't feel my shoulder, my back, my this. I don't know. I didn't get too much. I didn't get a lot of sleep. It's early in the morning. Then you look at the bar, but the moment you grab it and you start moving, it's like game on. We're good.
honestly, there are workouts like after 10, 20 minutes, I can just feel my mindset changing.
Yeah,
That rush that you get, you walk
it's
in,
amazing, right?
yes,
Yeah.
endorphin.
Yeah, everything starts kicking in
No,
like, oh, okay. You can take over the world at that point. But it clears your head.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think if you just, and that's the thing with people, I try to motivate them when they come in and they're tired and, family life and things get in the way and they're stressed and whatnot.
Hmm.
Just if you can get past the first 10 minutes, you're going to see you're going to love it. And, they always walk out saying, oh, I'm so glad I came. I feel so good now, so it's just because I know, because I go through the same not every day, but a lot of times,
Yeah.
life is not easy. We have work and we have stress and we have things
It's
to
life.
do.
Life goes on whether you like it or not. And so how your mindset is, I think it's important. It's
I
important.
always say, like, what's the better option,
Yeah.
So do I just go sit down and not do it and just feel really bad after? Or do I just kind of suck it up and get started and that's the end of it? Not even let my mind wander off to that gray area where maybe I shouldn't do it today, No, that's like, I don't even think like that. Okay, I'm tired. Well, that sucks. So I'm
Yeah.
still going to do it.
But the thing is, you've been through the gauntlet with things with martial arts and fitness, and you beat up your body, and it makes it harder as you get older to do things. But you also morph into something else because then you change things around to work within what you're doing, so you can avoid injury, you can avoid this stuff. So and this is the stuff you teach your clients.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess the best teacher is your own body because you've had all the injuries and
Hmm.
you've felt all those different emotions and feelings that you have going into a gym and the struggles and what's hard, And the other part to that is I grew up with eating disorders,
Okay.
so which is a huge problem. But back then we didn't really talk about it, especially not in a country like Sweden. You don't admit to these things.
So
Nobody talks about that.
well,
Um,
let's talk about that now because that's interesting because you have a lot of, I mean, men and women, kids that feel maybe they're overweight and everything, and they feel not happy with themselves, and they start creating these eating disorders. Some may starve themselves, some may be bulimic, some may just sneak eat. I mean, a lot of things happen, and it becomes a mental thing after a while.
Yeah, and I think it's really a big problem, and it's something that even at an adult age, it doesn't quite go away. It's like, I guess, I understand a lot of people now with depression and all kinds of things. You can manage it and you can learn how to overcome it, but somewhere you don't really get rid of something like that. So it is important, now that I see how parents teach kids about nutrition and all this stuff, it's really important as a child that you get that proper education, and also not be told that, oh, you only look pretty if you're skinny and all that. I was actually very happy to hear one of my clients say to me, I don't have a desire to be skinny. I want to have muscles and look strong and fit.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so amazing to hear somebody say that instead of, oh, I want to lose 30 pounds and look like, supermodel. And so I grew up with that and struggled quite a bit. It would be go from binge eating to starvation to, I mean, I did it all, and it was quite difficult. It really does mess with you. And
Because
so,
if you are in an environment where people think the norm is being, skinny and that's the way it is, and you're different than that, you feel
yeah,
like you're doing something wrong or you don't fit in. And that's the wrong mindset. Like look, David Hasselhoff, his daughter, she's a plus size model. And she's going to be the first plus size, I think plus size model in Playboy.
isn't that wonderful though?
I mean, it's like, you can do things if you feel comfortable with yourself, then you can do anything you want to do, and that's what it has to do with being comfortable with yourself. Of course, you want to be healthy, but
Yes.
if you're built a certain way, really, there's not much you can do about it. You work with what you got, what God gave you.
You do. And I think that's what kind of planted the seed for me to get into fitness, because I was determined to beat that. I was always unhappy with my body, and I still struggle with body image till this day, but I've learned how to deal with it now. And fitness really came in as a blessing, in my life. And I'm able to help other people deal with that same thing, because I've realized how common that is,
Mm-hmm.
and to put a different mindset into people that they can do whatever they want. And as long as they're happy with how they look and how they feel,
Mm-hmm.
then who's to judge you and say that's not good? If somebody likes their weight and the way they look, I don't have a right to tell them, you look terrible, you should be 20 pounds lighter. So I
But
think that's
isn't it funny how you have people that are trying to get fit and they don't like the way they look, so they're a little self-conscious. But you can take, and I'm just saying, you can take a bodybuilder in the best shape ever, and you can look at them and say, your calves look a little small. You want to see somebody go off the deep end and go crazy?
I think that's just with us in the industry.
Yeah.
I think 90% of people that work in fitness, especially bodybuilding, they come from that same situation. There was
Right.
something that they were so unhappy with that they decided, I'm going to turn that around and do the complete opposite. They were little and scrawny, or they were bullied as kids, or there
Hmm.
was something that set that off. And now
Yeah.
they're just determined that they're going to do the opposite.
Yeah,
Um,
and that showed, and and a good example of that for any bodybuilding enthusiast, they've all saw pumping iron and what Arnold did to everyone. It was psychological because he knew exactly what we're talking about. That everyone came from a certain background, so he can touch on their insecurities very easily.
yes, definitely. I mean, I think we all have insecurities,
Hmm.
and some of us are just a little worse.
Yeah.
So I think fitness is a great way, it's a great avenue to use to help people with their insecurities,
Yeah,
because
I
they start
agree.
feeling better about their bodies, and you feel good, and it takes the stress off, and
Hmm.
it's just a totally different world, for people that haven't experienced that before.
Sure,
Because I
but
have to be honest with you, I had no idea what I was doing, back then. I had no idea, and I would eat all the wrong things and do the opposite of what I was supposed to. And now that I have the knowledge and I'm able to change myself, it's so great to see that, and to be able to work with other people that are now in the spot I was back then, that come to me and say, "Oh my God, I feel awful. Like, help."
but
And I know exactly, because I lived it since I was a kid. So I
that that,
know
that
all
that's
these.
the key thing is that you've been down this road, you've been through this, so you're not just preaching and you're not just going on a soapbox preaching to them. You are showing them because you live by example. You live through it, you're sharing that knowledge with them so it can help them. You're not just
Right.
telling them what to do and you've never done it. It's like saying, it's like telling somebody, go run 100 miles, but you've never done it before. You don't know how it feels. So it's a little different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I never had those great genetics either. People think that I do, and I really don't. So I had to really work from the bottom up, And I did it. And now I started a few years ago competing in the women's figure in bodybuilding, just because I said to myself, that's what I want. I'm going to do it one day, and I don't care what it takes to get there, you know? And so that's a different journey by itself, but it teaches you so much about nutrition and your body. And and people start seeing it, you know, because it's like they see what you do and what works. And I think that's how you get to people. They see what you do and your changes, and then they become motivated and like, well, how did you do that? You know? So,
But
yes,
isn't it cool that you have your clients, then all of a sudden you transition, you say, you know what, you're going to do a show, and you start training, they see your passion and everything else, and they say, wow, you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the talk. You're doing what you say, and I should listen to you because you're doing it, and I see it. And that's a different motivation for your clients. I for any client that's dealing with someone that actually puts the words to action.
Oh, definitely. But I'm sure, you know, I'm very picky like that, always was, with the people that I follow, no matter what it is. I want to see the result. So I'm sure if you went to the gym and you saw a trainer that was 300 pounds and was sitting in front of you eating a hamburger, and they asked you, hey, Louis, do you want to sign up with me? I mean, you're going to go, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know? But you see the person who's working hard on the floor every day, that you see them change, they look good, you're like, oh, what are they doing? You know, people get curious, and then they come and ask questions, and
Right. That's where it begins.
Right.
That's where it begins. You know, that's why, look, whenever for the past, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years, whatever amount of time that I've gained a lot of experience, trained with a lot of champions, and done all this stuff. I have a lot of friends that are high end and in the fitness world. So when I'm training, and if someone's there, they don't know what they're doing, they're trying, I make it a point to correct them and say, this is what you should do, and I help them, because that's my obligation if I see somebody doing something wrong. Now, 90% of the people adhere to it. You have that 10% that really don't, so you don't bother with them. But you know, when you're paying it forward and you're doing that stuff, I don't care if you have it as a business and you get making money, or you're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. You're still impacting someone's life, and they remember that tomorrow, a year, 10 years from now, they'll still remember it.
They do.
Yeah.
I think as long as you show that passion, and that, you know, you have that about you, that aura, people are drawn to you for that reason. You know, they see people are. The one thing I noticed, being training at different gyms and being part of different fitness things, that people always watch you, you know, and then eventually they're going to come and ask you questions. And I'll be out, honestly, it doesn't matter where I go now. I can be out shopping at the market, and there'll be people coming over and, oh, you're in fitness. I mean, oh, what do you do? That you look good. And, you know, like, they see the work. And so it's not like some people in the industry, if they don't have a shirt that says trainer, I wouldn't know they're a trainer. So
and they walk around with the trainer shirts. That's funny. I am a trainer. Recognize.
Right. So I never wanted that. I said, you know, that's a good sign. If I'm out and somebody comes up and says, are you competitive? I'm like, that's great. That's good feedback for me, and that means I'm doing something right, you know. But that was, of course, not the main goal. I like to inspire. I really do. And I think
when you inspire through your actions, that's the key thing. If you're, I don't care if you're a pro athlete, a writer, an actor, if you inspire through your actions, you're making an impact. And that to me, you know, look, I'm in finance, so impact investing is important. Also, when you're involved with things in your life, if you have impact investing of your time, of your efforts for people, you're making an impact on their lives. So when you do this stuff, it pays off.
Yes. I mean, you know, I've worked at a lot of gyms. When I first started, I would teach classes, and I would do my rounds and go to different gyms, teach different classes. And sometimes I've had people that just pop up 10 years later and contact me and go, hey, I remember your classes. You were like my favorite instructor. Do you still take clients? And I'm like, wow, that's amazing that they still remember, you know, and that they actually went out of their way to contact me.
Well, that's a credit to what you've done, you know. And again, I think that, you know, beyond you don't promote and push yourself the way you could. That's why I wanted you on the show, because I know the things you've done. And even as I learned a little more, I said, wow, I didn't know this. I didn't know this. You know, I didn't know that you were, you know, you have a degree in economics. And I said, you know, you're a brainiac with muscles. And that's good, because that shows that you can be nerdy and be powerful. You can go
Yeah.
and powerful mind, powerful body, and that's what you've done. Let me ask you something. When you were doing the Taibo videos, I'm just going back to that because, you know, people like hearing about Taibo. With the Taibo videos, how many of those did you do with Billy?
I did the first, I think 5 or 6 that came out, the basic ones, and then after that, I kind of ventured out a little bit in my own clientele because it just became a lot, and I couldn't put that time aside for all of that. But I did about 5 or 6 of them in the beginning.
Yeah,
So
because that's a lot of work doing that. Yeah, it's a lot of work doing that stuff for sure, for sure.
with the filming, yeah, it takes up a lot of your time, and plus at the time I had a regular job too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is not a job, this is the best job ever, but you know,
Well,
back then I had
let me correct you. See, you don't have a job. You have a career. You have a business. You're a business woman. Period.
yeah,
And
yes.
this is where you put your degree in economics to work. You know, which is
You know,
pretty
why
cool.
not? You know, it all happens for a reason.
Yep.
My faith in that is very strong. You know, that's you just keep moving, and if you work hard, you're going to end up in the place that you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
The other thing with that is, over the years, I always used to do, you know, kind of pressure points and like things on my clients and help them with healing. And I said to myself, there's something else missing here. I need to pursue. So I ended up getting a certification in massage therapy
Oh, look at that.
to go along with the training, because I realized, you know, for me to assess my clients properly when they come, and usually the two go hand in hand. You either come because you have pain and you want to start training your weak muscle groups, because, you know, we know people sit a lot, and with that comes a lot of problems. And so they come and they have pain and they go, what do I need to do? So even if they came just for the massage therapy part and for pain management, they always end up training, because, you know, it goes right along with, okay, you have to strengthen those weak muscle groups for the pain to go away as well.
Right.
Or they start training and they develop some sort of problem. I know exactly what the problem is because I train them. So I throw them on the massage table and go, look, we got to take care of these things before they get out of control. So
And how many trainers do that? Not too many, unless you go to a sports medicine place. Then you mean, but then again, the trainer isn't really doing that.
Not many, some, but not many. It just, for me, it was just a natural thing to do, you know. So along with my gym, I have my massage tables and my infrared light therapy and hot stones and all that set up. So, and tables right there on the floor in case I need it.
Look at
So
this. See, who knows this? No, I mean, they know it now. They know it
yeah.
now.
So I make sure that, you know, part of it is the physical, which, you know, being able to transfer that powerful mind so that they can get in the kind of shape that they want. And the second part of that is, well, to get to that point, you kind of also have to deal with the maintenance of your body that goes along with the training.
Yep.
And the third part of it is just that spiritual thing where healing comes into place in both of those categories. So I couldn't even tell you how, you know, appreciative I am of having all those things worked out for me, that it came down to me being able to build this gym and this little studio, because it's amazing. As much as they give to me, or I help them with training, they give the same back to me, by just, feeling good and being so appreciative of coming.
Well, it's a testament to your techniques and what you do. So the better they become, it has to do with what you're bringing to the table. So that has to definitely feel good, because
Yes.
impact investing your time into someone
Yeah.
and seeing the results.
Right. And
You can put that on your wall, impact investing. Don't worry about
yes, I'll do that. I'll do that for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's important, because when you're paying it forward with information and knowledge to me is everything. You give that to the next person. Again, they pass it on to someone else. They benefit themselves, and then the cycle continues. And then this is the
right.
stuff that we leave behind. So I love the fact that you have your gym, your massage table, all this stuff together. Well, what I want to do, because we're coming towards the end of the show, what I want you
Sure.
to do is, I want you to give, first, before we do this, I want to thank you for coming on, and we're going to bring you on again, because you have other things going on that I want to touch on. But if we touched on this during one show, we would be here all day, and I don't know, people may not adhere to it. So we're going to piecemeal it out to them. A little bit at a time. We're gonna give them a little treat here and there. All right, but why don't you tell people how they can learn more about you, your website, your social media, so they can, find out more about what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. I have a website, although I think these days people tend to live on social media a lot more. But the website is ladyvikingfitness.com. And that has a lot of my pictures and information. Now, for people that want to just kind of follow along in everyday life, we can go to Instagram, and it's Swedish_Viking lady. And I'm also on Facebook. I have my personal page there, but I also have a fitness page that's called Lady Viking Fitness, 3 words. And everything goes on there too, videos, nutrition, everything. So it's really easy to follow along. And I mean, I would love to have everyone who's interested or want to know or learn, or if nothing else, just be inspired.
Well, that's what it comes, motivating and inspiring. And for anyone, just for the listeners out there, even for the viewers, for those that may have an interest in being trained by you, how do they go about doing that? Do you have an assessment? How do they do this?
So I don't travel, but they can just contact me on social media or through the website, and just send me a simple message and let me know, what their goal is and everything about them. And I will make sure to contact them and get in touch with them and go over whatever their needs are and take it from there. Yeah. And I have a show coming up actually in 10 weeks now. So
Whoa. We're just talking about the show now. What show
right.
is this now? What's going on? Wait a second. Wait, I guess this show is not over yet. What show are we talking about?
So I think we touched a little bit about on the bodybuilding subject, and this is now the next competition that I have coming up is NPC West Coast Classic. It's in June. Okay. So I'm 10 weeks out from that. It's women's figure. So it's one of the subcategories to bodybuilding. So my clients and everybody on my social media now are kind of following along, because I do, weekly pictures and progress pictures, and so it's kind of fun for them to follow along, and it gets them inspired as well for change, to see.
Well, they see you changing.
Right.
So the shows come, see, and normally when people are competing for a show, it's hard for them to even come on to do something like this, what we're doing here. So I appreciate you doing that, because I know in the next couple of weeks you're going to be like, you can't do anything. So
my diet is not allowing me anymore. I'm just dieting so hard that I can't think about anything else.
Yeah, that's why we're lucky to get through this show, But what I want to do is after your show and everything is done, what I like to do is bring you on maybe a couple of weeks after you get yourself back together, bring you on again and talk about that experience because I think we can tag on to this show with that and share that with people because that would be interesting.
Absolutely. That would be amazing.
Yeah, let's do that, Linda. Let's do that. But I want to thank you for taking the time out, and I want to wish you the best of luck. We'll be
You and I will be in
yeah,
touch.
we'll be in touch for sure. So you're gonna make things happen. And again, go to I want the viewers and listeners go to ladyvikingfitness.com, find out what she's doing, follow her journey, Instagram, Facebook, and all that other fun stuff, and learn about it and support her. She's a great person, has done some amazing things, very humble. Because Linda, you don't talk about this stuff, but I wanted to get it out, and I'm happy that I did. And I thank you for coming on, and we're gonna follow your journey. But anyway, for those that are viewing and listening, we'll be back with you with another episode of the UCW Radio Show.
Initiating shutdown sequence.
You're listening to UCW Radio in your face.
What is your major malfunction?
So let it be written. So let it be done.
Ladies and gentlemen, my mother thanks you, my father thanks you, my sister thanks you, and I thank you.